Imagine this. It's 4:55 p.m. and your boss drops a message. Can you share a quick sales breakdown by region and product? The data is huge. You start scrolling, filtering and copying. And every minute feels like your credibility is ticking away. In this video, I will show you how pivot tables turn that situation into a 30-second task. So, you don't just deliver the report, you look prepared, reliable and in control. Without formulas, without panic. In this video, we are going to understand pivot tables. And instead of working with a small, clean dataset, we are working with a large, real world sales dataset with more than 900 rows. Just by looking at this data, some people already feel overwhelmed, and that's intentional. Large data, real problems. So, before using pivot tables, let's try answering some normal business questions manually, the way you will do it without using pivot tables. So, for this sales data, let's try answering the first question. Who is the highest performing salesperson? So, I suppose the way you will do it, you can convert this data into a table, then sort it, and then you will need to manually sum the order values for each salesperson, either by using some sum formula, summy formula, or you can simply select and drag. So you got it. So you have selected all the data for Amit, and you can see over here the sum is 97,91,207. You can note it somewhere, and then repeat the same thing for your next salesperson. Let's say Anjali. So for Anjali, it's 83 lakh 9,515. Similarly, you will do a sum up for each one manually. For Neha, then for the next person, and that's intentionally to show you the effort that goes into doing this manually. So I have done this sum up work for each salesperson, and here's the compiled data. From this data, you can see Pratik seems to be the best salesperson. So this was a quick demo to show the hard work, the donkey work you need to put in if you're doing it manually. Now let's say your manager asks you the second question: who performs best in the north region? So in these kind of scenario, what you can do is you can apply some filter for the north region only, then sort it like the way you do in the first question, and again you have to sum up sales value for each salesperson manually again. And let's say there comes the last question: how does sales change by month? You can't even imagine how much effort will go into analyzing this data month by month. So this was to show how tough, boring and effort taking it is to do the work manually. Every time the question changes, we redo everything from scratch. This works, but this is donkey work. Every new question means more manual effort. Now watch this. I'm going to try answering all these three questions using pivot tables. So let's come to this sheet. We have the same data. You can simply select, convert it to a table, then go to insert a pivot table in our next sheet. So this comes to a new sheet where you can create your pivot table. Simply select it, and I will simply drag data fields around. And that's it. You have very quickly created your first table for the sales value for each salesperson. You can simply sort it from largest to smallest. And here you can see Pratik seems to be the best salesperson. And total sales for each salespersons are listed over here within a matter of seconds. Now let's move on to the second question. Who performs best in North region? You can simply drag region into filters and filter data only for Northern region. So Amit seems to be the best salesperson performing in the North region. You can also do it other way by dragging region into columns, and in the Northern region you sort it. And for the last question, how does sales change by month? You can simply drag columns around insert a date in the rows, and you see the sales value for each month gets listed over here. You can simply sort it again. You can see October is the best performing month and September is the least one. So within a fraction of seconds, you can answer all the questions. You want it region wise, you can simply add columns. It gives you data for each month region wise. That's the power of pivot tables. Same data, same question, seconds, not minutes. Most beginners stop right here. They see rows, columns, values, filters, and they freeze. The problem is not pivot tables. The problem is that people don't know what they are trying to build. So let's start from absolute scratch. First, take a look at this raw data. Now let's create a pivot table. Click anywhere inside the data. Now go to the insert menu. Click pivot table. You see, by default, Excel automatically selects the entire data range. But if you want, you can select it manually also. Next, you can go with this first option, new worksheet. This one is going to create a pivot table in a new worksheet. Click OK. And you see it has created a new sheet with this pivot table template and the pivot table fields. And pause here. This blank layout scare most beginners, but this is actually the easy part. Let's first understand the pivot table fields. Over the top, you have the names of the columns derived from your raw data, date, salesperson, product, and all other fields. These column values are the values you are going to arrange in these 4 columns depending upon your requirement and the used case to achieve the final look of this pivot table. Now remember this one rule. Labels go into rows or columns and number goes into values. Salesperson, region, product, date, they all are labels, while the order value, it's a number. So number creates result and labels organize them into rows or columns. So before dragging anything, let's decide our first question. Who is the highest performing salesperson? First visualize the final output. Salesperson on the left and total revenue on the right. Now think logically. For the first question, salesperson is a category. So it must go into rows or columns. I will put into the rows. And this revenue or the sales value is a number. So this order value goes into values. That will calculate the total sales. And you got a clean summary table showing total revenue per salesperson. You build your first pivot table. Now to answer the first question, who is the highest performing salesperson? You can simply select this sum of order value column, right click and sort it from largest to smallest. And here you can see Mr. Pratik is the highest performing salesperson. But wait, what if he just close 1 or 2 massive deals and that too maybe with some luck? So we need to change the question. Instead of using sum of order values, we can actually count the number of orders. You can simply select this consolidated value, right click, and you can simply change it from summarize value by and set it to count. Now it's giving the count of orders each salesperson have generated. And based upon the counts, you can see Mr. Amit has bring the most of the orders. So same pivot table, completely different insight. Pivot tables don't give answers. They help you think better about the data. And a quick tip, you can simply right click and try using other values also. So based upon your use case, you can either go by sum, count, or you can even calculate the average of each category depending upon the requirement of the scenario. You can also change it from this value section. You can simply click and go into the value field settings. Here you can see you have got a bunch of options, sum, count, average, max, min, even standard deviations also. Now let's try answering second question. How does sales change by time and how it split across the regions? Again, first try to visualize the final result. Think of it like this. Rows is what am I grouping by. Columns is how do I want to compare. And values are what I am measuring. And so based upon this understanding, rows is what I am grouping by. So I will drag dates into the rows and you will see it has created rows by categorizing or clubbing data into different months. And then how do I want to compare? I want to compare it region wise. So the region goes into columns. And for the values, again we will go with the order values and it will automatically select the sum of order values. And you see it has created a nice pivot table comparing different regions over the whole year. Notice something interesting. Sales in the northern region drops sharply in November and December month. Pivot table helps you identify patterns, but humans explain reason. So the reason for low sale in November and December may be extreme weather reduces the store footfall. That insight can lead to decisions like shifting the focus on online or home delivery to increase the sales. And here is an important clarification. Let's say you have created this sales pivot table for salesperson versus regions. These rows and columns are not strict rules. You can swap them anytime. You can simply set the regions into rows and salesperson into the columns. It will just change the look of pivot table. So remember this. Rows and columns, you can swap them. They actually help you change the way you organize your data. They are interchangeable. And the final takeaway is if a field is text or category, it usually goes into rows or column. Rows and columns are not the rules. They are just views. And if the field is a numeric value, it almost always goes into the values. When you start thinking from the final output to backward, pivot tables stop being intimidating and starts making sense. And let's say while creating pivot tables, you do some mistake. This looks wrong, and that's okay. Pivot tables are safe to experiment. You can simply rearrange the columns or values. You are not breaking anything. Pivot table never touch your original data, so it's safe to experiment with. You can delete entire pivot table and your original data still remains untouched. So the whole pivot table things boil down to the fact that labels organize and the numbers calculate, and always try to think of the final output before creating the pivot tables. If you understand this, pivot tables are no longer advanced, they are obvious. And at last, some quick tips in this bonus section. We haven't touched the filter section till now in this video. So you can use the filter section to filter out the report generated by pivot tables as per your requirement. So let's say you want this sales data only for a particular product, say laptop. You can simply drag the products in the filter and then select the product to laptop only. Now the data gets updated and it's showing the data only for laptops. You can even select the multiple products like laptop and mobiles, and the data will get automatically updated. And for the last tip, let's say we have created this salesperson versus count of order values table. So it's hard to visualize the performance of each salesperson just by looking at these numbers. You can simply select this column, then in the show value as section you can set it to a bunch of options. So let's say I go with this second option, percentage of grand total. Now it's showing the data in the terms of percentage. This way it's easy to visualize that Amit has generated overall 22% of the total sales and Rahul has generated about 20% of the sales. Similarly, if you set this to summarize as sum, you can get to know that Pratik has bring about the 26% of the total revenue and this Anjali has bring in about the 18% of the total sales. So this way you can change the way your data is being displayed to help you understand, visualize the data in a better way. So that's it for today's video. If you like the content, please like and subscribe the channel and check out homepage for more such videos.